Hello, everyone. Welcome into Where Will the 99 Lead? I'm Keith Casebolt. Last week, we got started with the governor and the president of the University of Pikeville, Paul Patton, and he said, I can't wait till next week's show because James Hurley's going to be on. And here he is, the vice president of the University of Pikeville, James Hurley. James, good to have you on.
Good to have you, Keith.
Now, this is the busiest time I think I know of for the University of Pikeville. You and I had talked a little bit privately not too long ago. You said, we're going to have about 5,000 people that's going to show up and be on the campus, and with the construction going on and everything else, the big question is, where are we going to put them?
Yeah, this morning obviously was our first morning for classes, and it was an eventful morning, starting off with the parking garage being full by 7:30 a.m., and I mean completely full, all 5 levels. And that's a good problem to have. It was just so exciting to see the faces and all the new, obviously the freshmen wandering around lost and trying to figure out where to go. But I have to tell a funny story. About 2 weeks ago, my sons and I were out, and as you know, we live on campus, and a lot of the students and student athletes started returning back to their residential halls, and Drew said, Daddy, the kids are coming, because it's somewhat dull there in the summers with the kids being gone. And when you're used to those students being there day in and day out, night and day, you get used to seeing those faces. And so they're back, and it's an exciting time on the Hill at the University of Pikeville.
You know, you started when the governor started. You came aboard. At the time, Pikeville College looking for a president, looking for some direction. I talked with you at the time, and you said to be able to have a mentor like the governor and him to be president of now the University of Pikeville and to be a part of that. You were telling me the sky's the limit. Where is the university right now based upon your expectations of a couple of years ago, and now here we are starting the new year?
Well, you and I and a lot of folks in this community, and certainly all of Central Appalachia and Kentucky, knew that the right person to lead this institution forward was Paul Patton. And the institution had fallen on some very hard times economically. Student enrollment was probably the lowest that it had been in probably 30 or 40 years. Finances were somewhat questionable. And the morale not only within the institution but within the community, the faith that it had in the institution was very low, and we knew Paul Patton was the right leader to get us out of this deep hole, so to speak, that the university was in. We had a 5-year goal, to be honest with you, Keith, of where we were yesterday.
Really?
We felt like at the end of 5 years, if we could be over 1,500 students, that we had done an admirable job of getting it on the right path. We had no idea that it would only take 2. And that's a tribute to a lot of folks, obviously governor's leadership, but the community. The community has really bought into the strategic plan that Governor Patton has laid out for the institution, and the Board of Trustees. They had to make some real sacrifices as well, and put a lot of faith in a lot of us that didn't have a lot of higher ed experience.
You know, let's talk about the first thing. And you've got so many things going on at the university, from the educational standpoint to the athletics and everything else. But when you and I talked a couple of years ago, one of the things that you brought up is you said, this university's got to become cool. I mean, it's got to be the cool thing to do is to go to the school, to wear our colors, to be proud of having the University of Pikeville across your chest on your clothing and everything. And the kids have got to buy into that. And James, in just a couple of short years, it's as if though you've made that jump to where it is the end thing to do. Stay home, keep the good minds here, both guys and gals, and go to the University of Pikeville. You've really changed the perception of the university.
Yeah, and that was the most important aspect that we saw early, was our prospective students. And let's face it, we are an institution that embraces the non-traditional student just as well as we do the traditional student. It is always, it has been and will be an integral part of the university. Mm-hmm. But the number of non-traditional students, they're shrinking. due to a lot of parents. A lot of folks are often having to work two jobs, and finding time to go back and complete an educational degree is very tough. And so what we started focusing on was prospective traditional students, on-campus residential-based students. And when we arrived 2 years ago, well, starting our third year, we encountered less than 300 residential students, and as of this morning, we had about 760, and that makes a big difference on campus. The second thing we needed to do, we identified with Danny Van Hoos and Appalachian Wireless, and we put the resources in our recruiters' hands, but also our entire faculty and staff, folks that could make an impact on prospective students. We put the much-needed technology, the BlackBerries, the Samsungs, if you will, into their hands so they can communicate with students. Because what you and I are doing today, that's not the primary communication means of these prospective students. It's texting, and tweeting, and Facebook, social media. And so we needed to connect in a social media aspect. And we started doing that, and it has made us the cool place to be.
You know, and to transfer what you're saying there, with a basketball team, you go out and recruit players.
Yeah.
It's almost as if, though, that wasn't taking place with the students, and now you're actively recruiting the educational side of the university, just as if though it was the basketball program.
Absolutely. I can speak on behalf of Governor Patton and myself, Gary Justice, the Director of Admissions, and all of our admissions counselors. We make in-home visits. We've got Board of Trustees members that have made in-home visits to students, recruiting them, these high-end AC 26 to 36 ACT kids. We recruit them just like they're the top basketball star. Mm-hmm. Coach Kelly Wells will go into the home of a prospective basketball star and recruit not only them but their parents. Well, we have to do the same on the university side. Dean Boozer, he will recruit the best future medical student. And sometimes that takes going into the home, not only selling the student, but also selling the parent. And so we've made that important. Governor Patton, myself, we make in-home visits to kids that we feel like would make a difference in Central Appalachia.
How big of a factor is it when you're recruiting these students to say, you want to grow up to be governor? You know, our governor is our president. You want to grow up to be the chairman of the board? You know, our chairman of the board owns one of the largest trucking companies in the United States. You want to win a national championship? We've got the coach of the year. I mean, you've got a lot of things that you can recruit them with now.
Yeah, and going back to the chairman of our board, I think it's important for folks to know Mr. Terry Dotson. He's also an alumni of the institution. So he's a Pikeville College graduate, been involved for many years, well over 20 years with the board. And it makes a difference. Governor Patton, his wife Judy, was a graduate of the institution. And so now we have a lot of people who have a much deeper stake in the game, so to speak. I'm an alumni of the institution. My wife Tina's an alumni, and we live there on campus. And we try to interact with the students on a daily basis and let them know that, hey, we try to take care of our own family, and that's important. And if you look at all the leaders in Central Appalachia, a lot of those guys and gals out there leading the industries and leading this economy are graduates of then Pikeville College or the Pikeville Academy, future University of Pikeville.
You know, when I talked with the governor last week, he and I were talking. I said, when it comes to texting and numbers, now I said, James Hurley is the king of that. He said, oh, I can't wait till next week. He'll have all the information. Lo and behold, you came in with a packet with you today to talk about the numbers. Record enrollment. Let's break it down a little bit, James, and let people know exactly how this record or enrollment actually came to pass.
Well, when Governor and I arrived before the 2009 school year, we had less than 1,000 overall students, and that we will talk in terms of total head count today, Keith. And what total head count is just what it means. Every single student, from an undergraduate, graduate, dual credit, anybody that's taken a class at the University of Pikeville. And we inherited a student body total head count of less than 1,000. And as of today, this morning, literally, we're at 1,874 heads.
Wow.
We've expanded our dual credit program, which we're very proud of. We feel like we have a model that now a lot of other universities across Kentucky are starting to emulate and will emulate. We have over 303 dual credit students inside of our local 8 local high schools. And what that is providing is an opportunity for those students to garner college credit. If they want to apply that at the University of Pikeville, obviously selfishly we want that. But those transcripts will transfer anywhere in the country. And so that saves the parents an enormous amount of money, because some of these students are coming out with 21 to 29 hours of college credit, which is phenomenal. That's literally a freshman year. And we feel like they will embrace the university throughout the course year and want to translate, or I should say, take that transcript with them to the University of Pikeville. So that's a big reason we started the dual credit program. And of course, we know the Kentucky College of Osteopathic Medicine is doing great. Our goal was to have 305, and we have 311 students there. So we had a projected of where we felt like we wanted to be after we reanalyzed, so to speak, where we were at the end of last year. And we've, as you can see, Keith, we've eclipsed all those numbers.
With 1,874, the head count that you're starting with, automatically you want to jump up and down and say this is the greatest news in the world. But the governor said, I'm going to let James talk about this. We may be looking for room to put these people. I mean, you've grown so fast in 2 years, and with all this excitement, what are some of the challenges that come with this growth?
Well, certainly this morning we knew this was coming. Parking in the city is an issue. It's an issue with the hospital's growth and the phenomenal things that are taking place at PMC. They're too under a construction process, and our own construction process with the Cole building, that's taken away a little over 200 of our potential parking spots at the bottom of Record Memorial. That is adjacent to the parking structure. So we've lost those places. Pikeville Medical is also having to use the parking garage as the city businesses. We have a new courthouse going up, and so that took some parking places that were there before. So parking is a privilege now in the city garage.
Premium.
It is a premium privilege, that's for sure. Parking is obviously the first issue. The second issue for us is living, residential halls. We're now suddenly shifting our focus to a residential hall. We feel like we're going to have to start on a new dormitory within the next few months to accommodate our growth. And I'll be honest with you, Keith, in late March to early April, we really had to put the halt on our recruiting efforts because we had already eclipsed our goal. Mm-hmm. And I told Governor we may be going in a direction that could negatively impact if we don't address the needs. This year it worked out great. We had just enough beds and we had just enough seats. We don't have enough parking places, which us, the city, the hospital, we're all starting to work on a plan for that to address those needs. But certainly short-term residential halls. The new Cole building will make a huge difference because that's going to give us a new dining hall, which will allow up a little over 400 seats, whereas now we only have about 230 seats. So we're almost going to double our capacity in our dining hall.
Let's go back a little bit to this residential hall. How important of a role does that play when it comes to the student staying in this region and this community? If they live here for 4 years while attending the University of Pikeville, how much better chance do we have of keeping them as the next business person or doctor, attorney, or something of that nature?
Well, statistically, we've looked at this, and you know I'm a nickel and nose guy, and I love statistics. They say around 60, you have a 65% chance of retaining a baccalaureate graduate in your community if that student had a positive residential experience. And that's what we're working on. This week, for example, we have an activities booked every single night for our students to be involved. And then also we're inviting the community. Wednesday night we have the Halfway to Hazard concert, in which we've invited the high school community to come and join our student body. And so as we start to integrate the community with our students, we have a much better chance of keeping those best and brightest minds. And you and I have spoken many times. That will be the driver of our economic prosperity moving forward in the future.
Well, I think so, and also the recruitment. I mean, when you're at the high school and you see the person that is the valedictorian with a 4.0 choosing the University of Pikeville, the message is real clear. Wait a minute, if they're going, I can go there and get a great education, and I can become anything I want to be.
We increased our ACT by nearly a point, which is astronomical. Anything greater than 0.5 is statistically significant. We were nearly a point, 0.9. We had a record number of valedictorians and salutatorians enroll in the University of Pikeville this year in the history of the institution. Our OMSP, which is our future doctors, and also our GAP students, which is guaranteed acceptance into the new Midway School of Pharmacy, both of those, I think the average ACT for the GAP students was over 27, and the average ACT for the OMSP was over 29. That's 20 students per year. That's the tip of the iceberg. The state average ACT is is right at 19. So we're doing very, very well, and we're starting to not only recruit but retain those best and brightest.
Well, that's going to be the key, you're right, to our economy. Now, you've got a lot of numbers here. Let's go through some of this that you might want to point out, James, on the program.
Well, we're very proud to start off with our new MBA program. We had a goal of filling that program with 30 seats, or 30 people, so to speak, this year into that program. And we had over 60 applications just for Cohort 1. And we're very excited about that. We have filled the class at 30. We will start a new cohort in January, which is ahead of schedule again because we were planning on a second cohort in 2012, 13 school year. So now we're going to have to run 2 cohorts in the same calendar year, which is phenomenal. The RN to BSN program is off to a good start. We knew that would be a little slower because there's so much more, and you know this working some with PMC, the legalities behind the medical field and the nursing is a little more, there's a few more hoops to jump through and hurdles to jump through, or jump over, I should say. So we're excited that we've eclipsed those numbers. Institutional growth, increase as an undergraduate body, we have increased from 2007 to 2011 by 133%. To put that in, I'm sorry, by 33%. To put that in perspective, in 2007 we had 794 undergraduate students and 306 College of Osteopathic Medical students. Today we had again 1,182 undergraduate students and 311 KCOM students.
Where do you see this when we come to the split of the year as far as transfers? Because with this kind of enrollment and this kind of growth, there's going to be a lot of students that for some odd reason or another felt like they still had to go away from home. They're going to find out from their friends and their families about what's going on. They're going to see programs like this and hear them. And what do you expect when it comes to those students transferring back home?
Well, if it's any indication based upon our results from our blitz for an open registration, our goal was 75 full-time last Thursday and Friday and 15 part-time. That was our goal. And that was the average of the last 2 to 3 years what the university had been doing. We had 143 full-time students to process. We ended up enrolling, I think, 132 of those. And about 20, I think ended up being, Keith, 22 part-time. To speak on transfers, we have a large number. It typically ranges from 50 to 65 students in between the fall and spring semester. So at Christmas, they come home and they decided that they miss mama, they miss daddy, they miss their girlfriend or boyfriend, and they miss their friends.
Sure.
Again, we captured most of the best and brightest in the initial go-around, and we feel like we will get a lot of those students back. Not that we want any student not to be successful. I hope they're all successful in where they go. I just hope they come home.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to go see what's on the other side of the fence, and then you find out, hey, this place is not so bad. I can move back home.
That's right.
The one stat that you have down is the first-time freshman. Looking at the increase of this, now we're really talking about changes. If the growth that you've got on first-time freshmen, James, now we're talking about more facilities, more classrooms, not just parking, but the university will be busting at the seams if this trend continues.
Yeah, and we really have to start becoming creative in how we deliver content. And I think that's something prior to the last couple years that the university, or the institution, I should say, had not been doing a good job of. A lot of these students want to learn on their own time. Online classes are a must. Online delivery is important. Hybrid classes where some of the content is taught face-to-face in class, 75% of the content may be online. And so we really have to start looking at online and hybrid approaches, and we're doing that. Something that we're going to be looking at this year is we feel like we have a really neat alternative to the classroom crunch and listening to our students. We're going to be doing some student surveys, and I highly expect us to have a pretty neat announcement in March or April of this year on some things moving forward with how we're going to deliver that content that will really be cutting edge that not a lot of folks are out there doing. The first-time freshmen, if you look at it, in 2007, we had a record number of first-time full-time freshmen at 234 students. And then we started going in the wrong direction for the in 08 and 09. And then in 2010, which was governor and our first recruiting class, we had 393. And then this year we had 453. And so that's about a 94% growth in full-time first-time freshmen from 07 to 011, which 90% of that growth is from 010 to 011. So if you sustain 450 to 500 freshmen per year, and you look at about a 65% matriculation rate, that puts us well over 2,500 students when you look at this College of Osteopathic Medicine added in. And of course, we're going to be moving that class size when the Cole building's completed from 75 per class to 140 per class.
Do you foresee in the near future, whether it be 3-5 years down the road, a new university?
Possibly. There's some programs out there that intrigue us. We think there's a great dental need in Central Appalachia. We made no bones about our ambition to possibly land a dental school. We're looking at some cooperative agreements in the early times with University of Kentucky until we sort through who we are and where we want to go. And we got to make sure we're strategic about planning and also moving, advancing forward. We don't want to outgrow what A, we can afford, and B, that we can physically suffice. I think that's important.
One question I do want to ask. You had the 2008-2009 figure of freshmen actually going backwards. Obviously, there were some problems there. With the record growth that you have now and the confidence that you have in this region of the brightest minds coming in the students, how will this help the university when it comes to fundraising, gifts from individuals that are going to look at this and say, all right, the university not only has got their act together, they're moving in the right direction to attract the young men and women that are going to help us move forward and solve all of our problems. Businesses, individuals, you think this will increase the gift giving and better position the university?
Absolutely, and it already has. Like I said, this couldn't be possible. This growth would not be possible without the help and support of the community and donors. We do not receive any state funding. Mm-hmm. The only federal funding or state funding we receive is in the form of student aid, in which they can take anywhere they choose. So we do not receive the state subsidies that the public universities or colleges receive. So that puts us at a disadvantage. Governor speaks of we're like a furniture company that sometimes they price high or give a big discount, and at the end you're getting a good product at the price you want to pay. And we feel like we're the same. We have a very high tuition, but we give away a lot of scholarships in the middle where it's affordable for our students. We did a comparative analysis with Morehead State University, and the cost is very similar. I think there were maybe a $400 difference. And we give away a lot of scholarships, which are supported primarily from individual donors, people that establish scholarships. We have a scholarship foundations that were established 100 years ago, almost from the inception of the institution, that we still honor. And so that's extremely important. Our alumni is extremely important. They give very generously each year. The phone-a-thon and some other things, those all go to support student scholarships, because without the scholarships, we would not be able to compete with the area colleges on a price standpoint.
Well, it's a big day for the university with the enrollment and the academics. We've got just a few minutes left. I want to make sure that you get in a couple of things on athletics. You've got a new athletics director that has come in with a great enthusiasm. I know you're excited about that.
Yeah, Dr. Reggie Overton, we feel like is a great hire. Understands Kentucky, spent 9 years in Kentucky, considers himself a Kentuckian, and so that's very important. And that was first and foremost what we wanted. More so, he brings a doctorate in sports management with him. He has experience in starting 2 programs at 2 different institutions, one of those being sports management. And we feel like that's a degree that we want to offer our students. Almost 50% of our student body participates in some type of extracurricular. That could be athletics, that could be band, that could be academic team. And all those students are important. Some of our athletes want to pursue an athletic endeavor when it comes to employment beyond college or university, and some of those students want to consider roles like ADs, Parks and Recreational Management Directors, YMCA Directors, etc. And so we felt like that it's very important for us to start the process of developing a sports management degree. Also, energy is vitally important to this area, and the coal industry has been so good to us, and natural gas and timber, and we're looking at an energy management degree. Both of those would be both undergrad and graduate moving forward.
Also, I told the governor last week, I said, nothing you do surprises me, until James Hurley called up and said, we're having a press conference about lacrosse. And I said, okay, you finally got me. But you surprised me. You're starting a women's lacrosse team.
Fastest growing sport in America, the fastest growing female sport in the world. We've got a great young coach, Erica Erb. She's actually here these next 2 or 3 weeks, already bringing in prospective young ladies from all across the country that are interested in attending our university. And what we really wanted to do there, Keith, is create a balance with our student athletes. When you have men's football, you will have a larger percentage of men's athletes. It doesn't mean that we're disproportionate within our Title IX sector. We're fine there. We offer the same number of sports. But we want a good balance. And that's going to help provide that balance. Obviously, in the Northeast, lacrosse is huge, and so that's primarily where a lot of our first class will come from. And we hope to develop that in Central Appalachia among the local high schools.
And we've got to, in this last minute, get it in. The winningest high school coach, you mentioned football, of all time, Dudley Hilton here. We're kicking off the football season. James, I just have a feeling this is something that the region's going to embrace, and you're going to have record crowds to watch Coach Hilton and the Bears when they take the football field.
Coach Hilton's doing a great job. I've been out to watch them guys scrimmage now twice. Great group of young men working hard, very disciplined, very organized. And Coach Hilton demands excellence, and he's going to get it with or without them. And I've heard him tell potential recruits in my office, we're going to win with or without you. Yeah. So you can watch us win a ring, or you can come and win one. And so that's the mindset this university's taken in all aspects. And we feel like our faculty and staff is head and shoulders above any faculty and staff in this AQ system. I would put our faculty against any other faculty in the United States at our level. We're very pleased.
Really, it is an amazing turnaround the last 2 years. Congratulations to you, James. Congratulations to the governor, Paul Patton. It is a tremendous turnaround for the university. And the question is on this show, where's the 99 going to lead? We're going to have to find out. Looks like the sky's the limit.
Sky is the limit. And if you have any questions, you can visit our website at upike.edu or call the institution. We'll be glad to share anything with you.
my friend, it's always good to talk with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Keith.
We'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Remember, you can catch next week's show when once again we'll ask the question, where will the 99 lead? On behalf of Vice President James Hurley, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you for tuning in.